So today I wanted to talk about Rolfö and her injury and kind of who can replace her if she's not going to make it. But we have had a bit of an update from Gerhardsson um, in a podcast. But first, I just want to catch you up if you kind of missed out. Um, so sorry, I'm still laughing about the fact I'm doing this again. But yeah, so basically, if you didn't know, she went down injured versus Denmark. And we heard that it wasn't, and she injured her foot, and it looked quite bad, but we heard it wasn't a fracture. However, just before Gerhardsson announced the Euro squad, Rolfö was seen in crutches and a boot, and Barcelona said that it was a ligament injury, and there was a bit of like, oh, is she going to be that? But she did make the squad, which is obviously great. But kind of we've heard that Barcelona kind of don't want her playing and want her to stay with the club for rehabilitation. However, she's Gerhardsen is Gerhardsen has basically said with a player of Friedlina's caliber, we're prepared to make it. So we're prepared to make that late decision, take that risk to wait until and see if she's fit. So she's working with the medical team and there's lots of contact and we'll see if she gets that. So Gerhardsen does say, however, there is a deadline set, so we can change the squad up to a day before the start of the Euros, day before the game against Denmark. So we will have to make a decision whether to have her or not in the squad by July the 3rd, 6 p.m. Swedish time. But they could also make the decision earlier if they're like, she's not going to make it, we'll make the decision earlier. And Gerhardsen has says they've got multiple people who could replace her, and we'll talk about that later. That's not really what I want to speak about today. I more want to speak about who could replace her right now in the squad. So we'll need to maybe call someone up if she can't be fit, but hopefully she can be fit at some point in the tournament. But who's going to play if she's in the first few games when she's not fit, but also who's going to play when if she's not even at all fit for the tournament. So yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'd say the first player that I think is going to be kind of that one of the main options to play if Rolfö's not playing is Janogy. She came on the left wing for Rolfö in the game against Denmark. She's had a really good season for Fiorentina, 8 goals in 21 games, 21 starts they are as well. She played the majority of the games, lots of minutes. For Sweden, she's played less, not as much this Nations League, apart from that game when she came on for Rolfö. She also came on in the 10 against Wales, I believe, in April. She played a bit more in the Euros qualification in the summer of 2024, and that was when she was playing striker, when we didn't have Blackstenius, when she was injured, Blomqvist was injured. So apart from when she was kind of being a makeshift striker, she really hasn't played that much. She's always been quite a fringe player, but she's also quite experienced as well at this level. She's 29. She's very versatile in terms of she can play the left. For Sweden, she played on the left, she played in the 10, she can play on the right, can play striker. For a lot of this season, it looks like she's played everywhere in her heat map in Serie A for Fiorentina. She has played a lot of games as a striker. She played quite a lot on the left, quite a lot on the right as well. But I'd say most of them have almost been as kind of the striker, and therefore she's going around playing, but coming deep, receiving the ball in different areas. I think she's a very clever player. And considering, if you don't know how Sweden play, we do play with kind of we play a lot on the overloading the right hand side, and therefore if you're playing the left wing, you kind of tuck in a lot more narrowly. So I think that can suit her because I think she can pick up those pockets of space and she can try and be kind of quite technical and kind of delicate with the ball. The thing where So I feel like that can work for her, but I don't feel like she's as clinical or as like kind of powerful as a ball striker as someone like Rolfö, who also is more of that presence, who can kind of shrug off players. I think Janogy's a different style to that. And talking about a player who could fill the presence void could be someone like Lina Hurtig, who I think is the other option. I think these are the main two options, and I have a few other options we can speak about. I think Hurtig can be that, can kind of more fill the similar physical presence to Rolfö, and kind of again we saw the goal she scored against Denmark, and the kind of the way she could just like stroke the ball into the net, and it's that kind of like class that Hurtig has. I think can kind of is more similar to Rolfö than maybe slightly different to Janogy's style. Um, the issue with Hurtig is, she's had so many injuries and she's barely played. There's been other off the field stuff as well, but she's barely played. And I was actually shocked when I was making this video and preparing this that she's played 12 times for Arsenal this season, but barely any minutes. So she said no starts. Here are her stats for WSL and Champions League: is no starts, 13 minutes on average per game in the WSL, 12 minutes per game on average in the Champions League. But overall, she's played like a match and a half for Arsenal this season in 12 games. So she's come off the bench. I think, so she's barely played. And I think it was, some people were maybe surprised she did make the squad, because she only then played for us this year, got into this squad and scored. But I think just that goal alone really got her in terms of, we know that if she's right, the quality she possesses, she's played loads of times for us in tournaments, loads of experience. I think she is, such a high level player if we get her right. And the fact that also she did score, think about it, this season she's played combined about like 170 minutes, so less than 2 matches for club and country, yet she scored 3 goals as well. Like that's really not a bad return in such limited game time. And I think she's more, she can play in various positions, but I think the left position is her best position, where we need her to play, possibly to replace Rolfö. She can also play. She played the 10 though in the Nations League game. So I just want to say one thing, and by the way, when I'm saying 10, I'm meaning like the attacking midfielder role that Asllani usually plays for us. But when Hurtig and Janogy were both on the field in that game, Janogy was still on the left and Hurtig was in the 10. So I don't know if that's saying something that Gerhardsson, it's just one game. It's a very small sample size, but at least at that point, Gerhardsson, and also Janogy was picked first to come on for Rolfö. So that's saying something. I do think Janogy probably is the first choice. And she had, like I said, she's had a really good season, 8 goals for Fiorentina. I know it's a different league, but she's played loads. And I think she's in good shape. And I think Hurtig provides maybe in a way the similar kind of like clinical ball striking ability maybe of Rolfö, the physicality, the presence. We know how much Gerhardsson loves set pieces. Hurtig can kind of fill in for Rolfö in that way. It's kind of the presence. I really think that's a really important role that Rolfö has when loads of our players go to the right hand side and we're overloading that side. Having a player who's kind of a bit free but has the kind of the presence, I think, is really quite important. But yeah, I think that not two good options. Another option is Blomqvist. Played again though. she's barely played, and less so for injuries. In terms of she's had 16 appearances in the Bundesliga, but only 1 start, as you can see from here. Again, 21 minutes per game, not much. The reason I'm including, sorry, I forgot to say, her here is obviously she is more of a striker, but she's actually played a lot of her game. She can play on the wings as well. And this season, she's played a lot on the left wing for Wolfsburg. It looks like she's played a lot more on the right wing. From what individual heat maps, looking at them each, she's looked like she's more played on the left, sometimes also on the right, and sometimes as a striker. But a lot of them are off the bench, so it's kind of hard to tell where she really is playing. But I think she's obviously kind of been more of a backup striker to Blackstenius in recent years. But she also missed, though, the 23-24 season due to her injury. So I think she's struggled to kind of get back to where she was. But I think that Wangenheim has shown that she's probably more similar to Blackstenius as that kind of, if we want a like-for-like switch, and if we want something different, then maybe you bring on Blomqvist as a striker. However, when we're talking about left wing, we haven't seen her much there. She did come on in the Nations League, I'm pretty sure, in 1 game on the left wing, but she could fill that role of, because she's more of a striker, playing that left wing role. Could she be quite clinical there? Could she pose a threat like Rolfö does? Like, could that be an option? it's again, she's a different type of player. I don't think we're going to get someone similar to Rolfö. I don't think we are, but I think she could, we could play her there. Again, though, minutes is a bit of an issue. She played a lot more in the Champions League. She's had a lot more starts in the Champions League as well for Wolfsburg, and actually better return for it, really. For Sweden, like I said, she played a bit in Euro qualifying. These were more of the playoff games, I think these were. Again, not much though. Did score 2 goals though. Nations League, played she played a bit, but again, not many minutes. She did get the start against Italy as a striker. Didn't make too much of an impact. Yeah. So finally, another player as an option to replace Rolfö if she's not fit could be Sofia Jakobsson. Now, she's had a very good season in the Women's Championship with London City Lionesses, played a lot of minutes, got a good amount of goals and assists, but she's played majority of the time on the right, and that's where she's played most of her career, and for Sweden as well. But she can obviously also, she has played a bit on the left this season. This is quite nice, very satisfying heat map for me, this one. Some of the other players are a bit kind of, but this one is a nice one. You can really see where she likes to pick up the ball. Obviously, very experienced player. I would be surprised though if Gerhardsson really does pick her to go over to the left wing. Maybe something off the bench in a game. You know, again, if we're needing something different. But I do think she's kind of quite settled as the backup to Kaneryd. For Sweden, she's not really had many starts. Again, very low minutes per game, 9, 19. It's quite a theme with some of these players, but for Sweden at least, a low minutes per game. She's started that one game which we kind of chucked away against France, where we rotated a lot in Euro qualifying. But other than that, it's more just minutes off the bench. She had a really good impact in the Nations League against Italy. Oh, spoiler there. Didn't mean to do that. She had a really good impact against Italy in the Nations League, where she came on. I think I've said this before in a video, but she came on and she won the... Okay, hi. I am back again. My microphone just ran out of battery. So I'm back again for the 3rd time. Just to finish off the video this time. Yeah, I just had a few technical difficulties. But yeah, so I was talking about Jakobsson, and I was talking about, hopefully I don't repeat myself, and I'm sorry, but so she came on and she had that really good impact versus Italy, where she came on, won the corner, which led to the goal that Rolfö scored from, and the penalty that Rolfö scored from right at the end of the game. And she was really like enthusiastic, like really constantly going at her player, trying to win a cross. So I think she's definitely kind of settled as the backup to Kaneryd, and I think that she is. So I'd be surprised if Gerhardsson uses her on the left wing. She has done it this season, but I would be surprised. I think it's more. I think Blomqvist is kind of that kind of like wild card kind of option that he could use, and I'd be shocked if he uses Jakobsson as a starting left winger. I think he could use Blomqvist, and maybe she's that kind of like, you know, kind of difference maker, as kind of like the striker that goes out to the left wing and could be like score some good goals. Like I can see how that works, but I would say it's more between the two options of Hurtig or Janogy. I think probably Janogy's probably the safer pick. I do think she's really good. I think she's a team player. She's proven that by all the positions she's filled in. I think she's a nice, like tidy player, quite nice and technical, a bit of flair. The one issue I have with her is I feel like sometimes she can go missing in games. Sometimes, without being harsh, I feel like she can. Sometimes the games pass her by a bit. Like that game against Denmark, she wasn't really impacting the game. Like I think she's a good player. I think she's a solid team player, but she wasn't like going out there making her mark. And I think she can do that. So this could be like this could be a big chance for her if she gets to start the game. But I think maybe Hurtig has that more potential to be an elite, because she has been, you know. I think she can be that kind of like more that elite quality. Even like if we can get her up to speed and she's in the right frame of mind and everything, I think she could, you know, really cause trouble for lots of teams. And she fills the presence void that I think is important when we're overloading the right hand side and you're leaving an that kind of left wing who comes in attacking midfielder. I think that kind of presence that Hurtig has can work. I think Janogy can do it because she likes picking up those pockets of space, but I think it's very important when you're overloading the right hand side to have a big presence there as the kind of left wing that comes in centre. And I think Hurtig can fill that presence that Rolfö has, that Rolfö does so importantly for this team. There's a reason why Rolfö plays so often for this team and why she practically starts every game for us. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Janogy starts the tournament. So say Rolfö isn't fit for the group stage, or say she isn't fit for any of the tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if Janogy kind of doesn't start, kind of is kind of the kind of maybe more safer option we start with, and then Hurtig gets a few options off the bench and she kind of builds into it, builds up her game time, Hurtig, and then she starts the final group stage, or maybe she starts in the knockouts and she's really firing. You know, that's what we all hope. In terms of, we hope Hurtig's firing. I obviously also hope Janogy plays out of her skin and Hurtig can't get in the team. But I think it'll be one of these. I think Blomqvist, like I said, is more of an outside shot, but could be. I'd be surprised if Jakobsson's used on the left. I think one other thing, though, is if Rolfö can't make the squad at all, you know, hopefully she does and she plays later on if she can't play at the start. But if she can't, then I think maybe you bring in a young player like Matilda Winberg, like Schroeder. I know Schroeder's more maybe a striker and a 10, but can play out the wing. I think you bring in one of these young players who they're probably not going to play, but could get the experience and go into a next tournament with that tournament experience. But I would probably go with Winberg simply, even though I know she wasn't in the last squad, but she's been involved in a lot of the previous squads, and I think she's got that. I mean, she plays left wing. You know, she started against Wales this year, 2025, away against Wales. I think she's the only other player to start a game this year as a left winger for Sweden. I think Rolfö started the other 5 Nations League. I'll have to check that, but I'm pretty sure. And Winberg. So I think obviously we see something in her. She's a good player. I don't think she's had an amazing season for Tottenham. That's probably why she's not made the final cut. But I think she could be the one that's brought in. Yeah, hopefully. I feel like I've made this video quite a few times now. So hopefully I've not kind of repeated myself loads, and hopefully I've not missed out on anything important. But either way, it's just the whole point is me just rambling a bit, and I hope you enjoy. If you have any thoughts about any of the players or any other shouts, these are the shouts I think who could replace her in the current squad. If you have any other players you think could play left wing, please leave it in the comments. But I'll be uploading more videos over the coming weeks, and I'll see you for the next one.